Welcome to season 3 of Retro Spectrum. We are back.
Woo woo woo! Oh boy, are we excited to come back and listen to some more music. I love doing this podcast.
Keep telling yourself that. We did listen to a lot of albums this season, and specifically for this band, as this week we are diving into one of the big four of thrash metal. We're going to be talking about all of the albums of Slayer.
Not my favorite, but we did our best.
This is an example of kind of coming in blind and not knowing much about a band. And for better or worse, now we know a whole lot about them.
So strap in!
Yep, and check out our thoughts on the many flayed faces of Slayer.
And maybe pick up some earplugs. Opening of season 3. I know, I'm like, how many drugs do I need to take right now? What combination of drugs do I need to get this right?
I don't know. I don't know what drugs would be good for Slayer. Speed, like maybe they feel like a meth band or like.
My thought is something that makes you go to sleep so you just sleep through it.
No, it's got it like a PCP. I'm thinking like you buy into the rage, like you become the rage.
Totally. Do you remember the war on drugs stuff and when they would basically, like, I remember it as a news show, some kind of special on the news kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Or it could have even been somebody coming to the school and talking about drugs. But there was a certain time in my childhood where someone described what PCP does to you. They described like what all the drugs do to you. And I remember PCP being the one that I was like, that sounds fucking awesome. Like, I want to try that.
I've got to imagine you've had the opportunity.
I have actually.
Well, there you go.
Was it PCP? Hold on. What's PCP? Let me look it up. Okay. So what I had was ketamine.
Oh, yeah. Not the same.
But they're chemically related and have similar effects. So how I felt when I was on ketamine was how they described PCP to me basically when I was a kid. Except for more chill. It's like a more chill version because I think PCP, like you kind of described, as like more of a upper.
The thing that I always remember about PCP was it was supposed to give you like superhuman strength.
Exactly.
And you couldn't feel pain. And they're like, it took 7 men to bring this
They
guy
described
down.
it that it makes you like Superman basically. Yeah. And like you can't be harmed. You feel like you can't be harmed. Yeah. And as a kid who was getting harmed a lot, I was like, that sounds great. Superman me the fuck up.
That's how I wish Slayer made me feel. I wanted to get like, hell yeah, like.
Well, it's funny that you say that because all the fans on that documentary that I was telling you about were making hand motions and shit like that. One guy was like, without even speaking, he was like so overwhelmed by like how Slayer makes him feel, I guess. And it was super fascinating. Like, I really want you to watch this one. It was really brief.
You mean a Slayer fan had trouble processing and expressing their emotions?
Oh, right.
Okay, well, let's here's what I think we ought to do. I think we ought to start with, start of a new season. I think we ought to dive into bus updates. I'm not sure if we've had any on the podcast before, and we definitely haven't had one in a long time. And I feel like you have some new updates on that front, and then we can get into Slayer. And as a little precursor, before the end of the episode, I have made what I think is the coolest thing I've ever done for this podcast. So we'll have what I think is the coolest thing I've ever done, and we'll see if it turns out the way I want it to.
Okay, interesting. So
yeah, I told you I had a little surprise for you by the end of this.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot already.
Yeah, so I actually did it. I actually followed through on it. So nice. I made it this morning, and we'll be able to try that out. But let's.
Oh my gosh, awesome.
Yeah, let's get into the bus updates. Give a little bit of background on your situation, and then because I don't even know if we've gotten into any of that stuff.
Yeah, so in the first season, I remember that we definitely talked about it. In case people don't know, I live in a bus, and I've been doing some really sick fucking home improvements lately, apocalypse themed, sort of. This actually is great to talk about for the Slayer episode because I've done a lot of welding, and I feel like Slayer and welding goes well together. Yeah,
it's like, you know how you're supposed to wear welding goggles so you can't like stare directly at the light or whatever, it will blind you.
Yeah.
We need Slayer headphones that put something between you and Slayer so you
A
don't go
Slayer
deaf
filter.
listening. Yes.
Yes, I
I
I
guess
agree.
earplugs would be
I agree.
the
Yeah.
analogy. Okay.
No,
I
it's
just
Slayer is
invented
so fucking
earplugs.
loud. Slayer's Slayer's insanely loud. The whole I had to listen to it turned way down the majority of the time because it was very loud.
Okay, I do want to hear about the bus, but it feels so wrong to listen to Slayer at anything other than like maximum volume. I just had it casually on in the background and it just didn't feel right. It's like music that requires being played at not just loud, but like too loud of a volume to be able to really get
Yes,
any experience from it.
but it's such an assault to the senses
It
that
truly is.
my sensitive little neurodivergent, my hearing and like my sensitivities, and I've been having some headaches. It's just this week. I also this time of year is like the busiest time of year for me every fucking year. So I've been like so busy this week too. So it was just really intense. Like it's basically the polar fucking opposite of the Spice Girls. The Spice Girls is like upper high energy in a positive way.
Yeah.
Slayer is high energy in a fucking negative way. Like
Yes.
it brings you down, and Spice Girls lifts you up. And Spice Girls made me more productive and stuff, and Slayer just made me low key want to die. You know what I mean?
And I don't
Uh,
even think they would take that. That's like not insulting to the idea of the music either.
no, that pretty much is what it is.
Yeah, so it's not like it's you weren't getting it or whatever. It's like that's what the purpose of the music is. But anyways, let's get back to the
Sorry,
bus.
bus
How's
talk.
yeah.
So lately on the bus, I realized a lifelong dream. I've always wanted to learn to weld, and I finally learned to weld, and it's so fucking fun. I'm obsessed with welding. And you mentioned the mask. By the way, it turns out that I learned it is not only to protect your eyes from fucking going blind by like it's brighter than the sun, right? But it's
Hmm.
also because it's brighter than the sun, it's also fucking emitting UV. So you will get a fucking sunburn. So I didn't think it through and I wear coveralls and shit. Like I wear protective shit when I'm doing this, but I had my coveralls, the top button wasn't buttoned one day, and I got a fucking chest sunburn on my
Oof.
goddamn idic tattoo.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was intense. I was really
I didn't think
I
about
look
that either, but it makes sense. It's like
exactly.
being in a tanning bed or whatever, like
It's
a really
but
bright.
like way worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, way, way, way more intense than that. But anyway, finally realized a lifelong dream of learning to weld. I welded myself a battery box for my solar batteries, and
Nice.
I've attached it to the bottom of my bus now using a tractor. It's so fun. I love doing shit like this. I love building shit.
So your batteries attached to solar panels that go on the roof of the bus. Is that the idea?
Yes, so the next step, I basically used the battery box that I built that I welded from scrap metal. I went to the junkyard, which is one of my favorite activities. I love going to the junkyard so fucking much. Watching those big ass like basically gigantic claw machine things like come down and grab just big wads of raw fucking whatever scrap shit and move it from place to place. It's just so fun. I would love to have that job of the guy that gets to sit in that fucking machine and move the shit around. It seems so fun to me.
That's where you're at with the bus, right? Is you got the batteries put in, you have the solar panels installed in an effort to be able to like live off grid, basically, to be able to have your own
Yes,
electricity and your
minimal bills. Yes,
yeah.
minimal bills. And then that way too, if when shit hits the fan, worse than it already has, the worse things get, the more prepared I am with the vibe I've got going on. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a full on prepper, but I'm not going to be caught off guard.
So what are your next steps? Is it fully like are you fully operational after solar is done? Can you start moving
Oh,
about
fuck
the
yeah.
country?
And I could move about right now, but with
Yeah.
solar, it'll just be bougie. I'm just trying to like amp up my quality of life because the first bus that I lived in, I had one solar panel and it was not enough. And I had planned to put more. And anyway, I'm in a new bus now and it's like a palace compared to the old one, which was more like a beach shack energy,
Yeah.
like. So I've been, and I built the first one in a month and I've spent like 5 fucking years building this one. I'm putting a lot of effort into it, a lot of planning. It's taking time to save up money to spend more money on more quality materials. It's going to be super legit. So yeah, I taught myself to weld on this battery box, and it was steel, but I'm also going to be welding. I decided to make a framework for my solar panels on my roof and a frame because I'm going to have a deck on my roof as well. So I'm going to have a full framed out because I didn't want to put a bunch of holes in my roof. But anyway, I'm going to weld this fucking frame, but I decided I wanted that to be aluminum. Well, aluminum is a lot more finicky to weld. So I basically did a lot of practicing on the steel, and I have done some aluminum practicing as well, but I just didn't want to do too much practice with aluminum because even though it's a different medium and it does require its own practice, it also costs more to use the materials. So I didn't want to just waste a bunch of fucking argon or whatever, because you have to have a certain gas with it. And like I said, it's more finicky. You have to have certain materials. Anyway, welding is so fun. I have a welder now. Like I have a welding machine. I can turn metal into whatever I want it to be, basically, which is so fucking sick. Is it not? How metal is that? Speaking
Yeah.
of Slayer.
Yeah. Like literally actual physical metal. Did you listen to Slayer at any point while you were welding?
I did.
Yeah. It really does feel like it's an intense experience. And I know welding
Yeah.
is like an intense,
Yeah.
it's like a lot of extremes. And I feel like Slayer really does match up with that.
Yeah, for me, Slayer feels like, and this sounds weird because it's so intense of music, but it works best for me when it's sort of background music and you're kind of checked out. The more attention I paid to it, the less I liked it a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But here and there, the more attention I paid as far as lyrically, I was like, okay, yeah, that's kind of funny or whatever. Like,
Which again, not an insult to them. I think they wrote things intentionally like so over the top that it's like it is kind of funny. Like it's kind of intentionally so much that you have to laugh at it.
I saw them say in multiple interviews things along those lines,
Yeah.
along the lines of like, we're just trying to piss people off,
Yeah.
or
Chill out, everybody. Which is really the only, if you're going to present a defense of some of their lyrics and stuff, it's the only defense that really holds any, like that you can really use. Because if you take it literally at all, then these guys need to be like locked away and thrown in the bottom of the ocean, never to be seen again. If this is an actual representation of how they think and feel and stuff.
well, the thing they say all over and over in a bunch of interviews is like they're just describing what they see in the world in a neutral voice, like not that it's not positive or negative, is what
Yeah.
they said a bunch of times. But also in a lot of interviews, they contradict themselves
Yeah.
a lot. Sometimes they'll say it has meaning, sometimes they'll act like it's kind of meaningless. And I don't know. There's a lot of different points that they contradict themselves
and I
on.
think it probably depends on which era you're talking about and which song and the actual
And which
content
band
of
member
that
is
song.
speaking.
Especially because like I read a lot of stuff with Tom, who is the vocalist, and you always connect vocals and lyrics together, but they're not his lyrics. He's singing the lyrics that the guitar players wrote. Like Jeff Hanneman and Kerry King wrote most of
Did
the
Tom
lyrics.
not write any of them? I feel like he wrote.
I don't think so.
Well, I was listening to an interview of him talking about how he writes. So I was like, my plan was to look up which songs were his and look at the lyrics because he's the smartest one in the band, as far as I can tell.
I think that especially early on, it was the two guitar players that wrote most of the lyrics. I think it was actually Jeff Hanneman that wrote most of the stuff. But
the King guy, I don't like that guy's vibe.
He has a bad reputation of like not being a likable person. And it's like, yeah, I buy it. Like you don't do a lot to present the like I'm fun to hang out with or easy
He's
to get along with.
insanely fucking insecure, and he tries to overcompensate with like masculinity.
Yeah, well, and I think that was a lot of the reason for the rifts even within the band. I think that had a lot to do with the drummer leaving multiple times and stuff. I think is a direct.
The
tie
drummer
to that.
actually is another one who seemed kind of intelligent.
Dave Lombardo, I want to talk about him a lot. He played in a ton of other bands. He like has a really unique playing style, and if you want to talk about virtuosity with this band, which I know like is a huge part of metal, like being really good at your instrument, Dave Lombardo is, I think, the best instrumentalist out of a band full of people who pride themselves on being really good players.
Okay, I will say that the people who make the Slayer documentaries on YouTube, because there aren't a ton of like official Slayer documentaries or anything. It's mostly just like fan made ones on YouTube.
Yeah.
The ones who make those are really fucking funny because they talk straight up talk shit about Slayer in their own,
Yeah.
and they're the fan. Like that, like this one guy was talking like he loved Slayer, but he was talking about how stupid some of the guys in the band were and big of assholes some of them were and stuff like that, which I enjoy their ability to see that and not just be like blindly, not all of them, obviously, but the ones who made these documentaries were really funny about it, is all I'm saying. I feel like we're like bouncing around all over the place, but did you want to do a little something about the moving into a new house?
Sure, yeah. That's kind of what I
Okay,
thought.
so
Like we both have. It's kind of
yeah,
it's the start of a
sorry.
new season. No, it's okay. Well,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it'll all work itself out. It's the start of a new season, and I feel like we're both on the cusp of like. I really
We're
feel
both
like your
starting
bus
new
journey is
seasons
about
in our
to.
life.
Yeah, your bus journey is about to go on another leg. Once you get all
Yeah.
your modifications done. Like I feel like you're right on the cusp of that.
Hmm.
We just bought a new house like 2 weeks ago, and have been in the transition of moving into a new place and unpacking. And so you're listening to Slayer like welding and putting metal together, and I'm listening to Slayer like unpacking
Unpacking.
boxes and like trying to figure out which thing goes where and the flow
Ooh,
of
that
a
sounds like
room.
kind of a
And
chaotic vibe.
yeah, it really is. It is
It didn't
like
help, I bet.
it didn't hurt, but it
Oh,
is a
that's good.
sonic manifestation of like being overwhelmed and discombobulated. Like this is not chill out music, but it kind of
No.
is like get stuff done music. It was easy to put some headphones in and be like, I'm gonna do this whole room today, and
Yeah. Go hard.
yeah, exactly. Because there's no like you're not gonna fall asleep listening to Slayer accidentally.
No shit.
Let me can I tell you about the movers that we had move us?
Please.
So we bought a
Slayer
house,
fans?
and honestly, I don't think so. They played, well, I know what music they listened to because they had music playing on their cell phone in their pocket most of the time they were moving, and it was not Slayer. It was like country. And this is like first house I've ever owned. And I really plan on it being the last move I ever do. So we got movers because we're old and we don't want to cash in our friends. They've all helped us move before, and we have too much shit to move on our own. And so they were going to get all the big stuff, and we were going to get most of the little stuff. And we did a decent job of having everything packed and ready to go. And the theory was they were just going to load stuff on the truck, drive it to the new place, drop it off, and be done. And these dudes came over, and there were three movers, and it was on a Sunday, and so they came on the weekend. And I'm sure that they don't normally work on Sundays. And I'm trying to figure out a way to phrase this without sounding like a bougie asshole, because it's not that I don't mind paying them to do the job, but one of the dudes spent at least an hour taking like phone calls, like his own phone calls to his like not his work stuff, like not about work stuff, just like people calling him and he's on the phone. And the other two dudes, they were just very chatty. They chatted with us and they chatted with each other. And one dude ended up twisting his ankle halfway through the move, and so he could only carry little boxes after that. And they were not in any hurry. They had this job to do, and I'm pretty sure it was their only one. They weren't trying to get to the next one, they weren't trying to finish a bunch of stuff in the day. They were doing this and being done with it, which is I got out of the way because I was like, they're gonna spend more time chatting with us, and so I'm gonna get out of their way and let them work and do their stuff. And it took longer than I expected it to load. Once they got to the new house, it was like just drop everything in the front room. Like let's just get this stuff off the truck, get you guys out of here, and let's move on.
It's like they were acting like you were their friend and they were helping
they
you.
were super. They just wanted to hang out. We have a
So
box of like
casual about it.
we have a box of Magic the Gathering cards, and one guy like rolled the dolly up, then he kind of leaned on. He's like, "So, who plays Magic the Gathering?" And sat there and talked to us about what colors we play in Magic for
Oh
a
my
while.
God.
And again,
I would be losing my goddamn mind.
friendly, and I
Personally.
was friendly. I want to make clear I was not rude or short with you know what I mean? Like I was personable with them. But the whole time I'm just seeing like an odometer rolling, you know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
longer this takes, the more money I'm out.
Literally.
And so they're talking to us about Magic. They're like, I don't know, all this stuff. Just kind of lollygagging
You're like,
around.
yeah, we're cool people. Let's get this show on the road.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I would like to get those things out of the box and be able to actually enjoy them again. But we're unpacking, we're bringing stuff in, and we hear a ice cream truck rolling through the neighborhood. And you hear, like Pop Goes the Weasel or whatever. And we're like, oh, this is like we live in a neighborhood where an ice cream truck comes by. Like for us, it was like indicative of we've made
Magical.
it, Like,
Sweet. Yeah,
yes, listen to
totally.
this magical thing. And so we're doing something inside the house, and we come outside, and these three dudes are lined up at the ice cream truck in the middle of our move buying ice cream
You gotta admire the whimsy.
during our move, which is like good for them. I'm glad they got to enjoy the thing, but it was like
That was a ballsy move.
I'm really trying to balance, like, should I have said something? I didn't say anything and just let it happen or whatever, but it's like
I would have been laughing my fucking ass off at that.
it's funny
That is
now,
so absurd.
but
Like I would have been annoyed the whole day, but I think that would have broke
yes.
me. Like, because that is so absurd.
And it was to the point. It was like later on in the thing, and it was to the point like, you know what? We've already like, what's another 20 minutes eating
They're
ice
not
cream?
gonna change.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
It's already a lost
I
cause.
hope these guys had a great time doing it. But yeah, to look at and a dude that you're paying a significant amount of money eating a push pop while he's leaning up against the dolly, and you still have a bunch of shit on their truck is like, I hope that tastes good, man. I hope
Fucking
you're enjoying
priceless.
that. So
Should buy you one. God damn it.
I was busy moving things into my house. I didn't have time for a push pop,
Oh,
but I'm glad
shit.
they did. So
You should
yeah,
have
but
taken a page from their book and gotten yourself a
we
fucking.
got it all in. We got it all said and done. Left them a good review. Was nice to their boss about
You
it. But
did?
my God, yeah.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God, that's so nice
Their
of you.
like follow up boss person called, and like I said, they were nice guys. It was a nice thing. It was just so the opposite.
I would have straight up been like, they were hella nice, but they were
It
lackadaisical
was
about it.
well, but to me, like, what end? They get taken off a job, or they don't get as many jobs. Like I don't really
Yeah.
care about that. They're gonna keep doing their
I mean,
thing.
if they're gonna call you for a fucking review, though.
Well, and I keep thinking like I'm never gonna use that place again, and then I keep thinking like I'm never gonna have to move again. So really, it all comes out in the
Yeah,
wash
you
of
bought a
like,
house.
yeah, exactly. Like I still win in the whole
Yeah,
scenario.
totally,
But
totally.
my God, watching them buy ice cream at the ice cream truck really was just like that's sure something. That sure takes some guts. Like, but
Truly, the audacity. It's
but we got in.
incredibly
The house is
priceless.
great. It's coming along. This is the first time we've recorded in the new office space.
Very exciting.
Yeah, I think it's set up pretty good. I'm pretty excited about it. I think.
Yeah, it looks really set up. It's like covered in blood and skulls.
Oh well,
and
that's my Slayer.
pentagrams.
That's not. I didn't paint the skull and pentagram on the wall. I changed my background to a Slayer.
You're not doing
background.
any fucking sacrifices or anything over there.
Well, it is weird to you move into a new place and you burn sage and you wanna get the vibes right and all that stuff. And for the first band that like I have really sunk my teeth into here, for it to be Slayer,
It's not the vibe you're trying to cultivate.
yeah, I hope I didn't awaken something or
Piss off the
piss
ghosts.
somebody off.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Oh my God, seriously.
I don't think they're out to protection is not the name of their game. I don't think.
No. I'm kind of unclear on what the name of their game is, actually.
I think the name of their game is like Shock Factor. Okay, well, let's get into it because I have a lot of like
Do you have a history?
I have a lot of justifications of stuff and yeah, like where things came from and how they kind of got started and what that bled into. And then I think at a certain point it becomes like kind of like a marketing thing, give the people what they want sort of thing. And you've crafted this.
Even though they claim to not be like that.
Well, yeah, but I've listened to whatever 15 albums, however many albums they have of Slayer, like
Well, 12, I
hours,
believe.
hundreds of
Yeah.
songs.
Yeah.
I don't think I could tell you how any of their songs go.
Yeah, no, it's not melodic.
Yeah, like I don't think I'd be like, it's that one that's like
Yeah, exactly.
but I don't think I could. If you like put a gun to my head, was like sing a Slayer song, I don't know that I could do it.
Me either.
There's the one where he screams the intro. I could do that one.
One?
the the Angel of Death one, where it's like just him straight up screaming, like not
I
even a
made
word.
a note. Second song has a sick guitar riff
Yeah,
or sick guitar jam is what I wrote.
they don't get significantly like less sick, but I think your tolerance to sickness increases the longer it goes on. The shit in the later years is like that's still objectively a sick guitar riff, but it's also just kind of like, ugh, it's another sick guitar riff, you know? Like it doesn't have the same punch as the first one does.
That is why, to me, Slayer and bands that sound similar and just kind of metal in general, I've never really gotten into because to me, it is boring because it's so the same all the time.
Well, which was why when we did Iron Maiden, I was really kind of prepared for that, especially after 40 years of it. Like, this is gonna get, this has to, just by the sheer volume, get repetitive. And I never felt that way for the entire discography of Iron Maiden.
Because
Every
Iron
time,
Maiden is dynamic.
yes, every time a new album came on, it had its own little thing. And those sick guitar riffs never got less awesome. Like it was still awesome all the way through.
Yeah.
And they had enough variety and enough like types of songs and yeah, like you said, dynamics and stuff like that, that it still felt like you were hearing something new every time. And that's a good word. Slayer does not have those dynamics. It's very one note's the wrong thing because they literally hit like every single note, every single song. They play all of the notes. They're not one note in the musical sense, but they kind of are
In the
repetitive and do.
metaphorical sense,
Yes,
yes.
yeah. Kind of
Oh my
quiet
God.
literal sense, they are chromatic as hell.
Except when it comes to their album art. That's pretty same old too. It's all black and red and some white in there with some skulls and stuff.
And they had the same dude do a lot of the painting ones, like the Rain and Blood is the same as the Christ Illusion guy. Like and he definitely has a visual style.
The art, it was kind of funny, but like not exactly in the same way as Iron Maiden's art is funny to me. Eddie, Iron Maiden's guy, is like that guy's so perfectly funny. Like whatever my brand of I think that shit's hilarious.
Yeah.
But Slayer is kind of funny in the way where it's like more like you're laughing at it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like you're going, I wonder if they take this serious because they kind of almost feel like the ultimate troll band in a way.
Oh, for sure. They think that way too. Like I think they feel
Yeah.
that way about themselves also.
So I wonder if they're looking at their fans going, these fucking idiots. You know
No,
what I mean?
no, because
I think they genuinely like that they have fans and
yeah, and I think most of the people are in on the joke too. I don't think this is a like if you were a serious Satanist that like that was really your goal was to like worship Satan. I don't think Slayer is I don't know, you would listen to Slayer but they wouldn't be like serious. Like they're like not posers necessarily because I do think that they have put enough out there or on the line for what they have created, but they're not legit. Like they don't I don't think they actually believe the things that they say
exactly.
in their
Which they do
songs.
say out loud in their
Yeah.
interviews. Like they say that, but it's weird because, like I said, they contradict themselves a bunch in the interviews. And sometimes they'll act like the words have a lot of meaning to them. And then sometimes they'll act like it's just whatever sounded cool or like
Yeah.
hardcore or whatever. And to me, like lyrics are really important to me, as we've discussed many times. So I was trying really hard to like read most of the lyrics when I could, you know, as I said, I was like welding during some of this.
Did you accidentally weld the pentagram into something? Like you took the mask off and it was just there and you were like, oh no.
Or I have like one burned into my forehead.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how did that get there?
Um,
Sorry, that thought just popped into my head. I couldn't.
I
not
literally
say
don't
it.
even know what I was saying now.
Yeah, me either. You were
It
reading
probably
the
didn't matter.
lyrics.
Like most of the time, the words didn't make sense. It was a nonsensical, just random sounded cool or sounded hardcore type of shit, is what I was getting out of it.
And to be fair, that's how I feel about their guitar playing a lot too. Is it's technically impressive. Like I don't want to come across like I think like, oh, I could do what I could not do
No,
what they do.
correct.
It
Yes.
takes a high level of skill to do what they do. But what they do is play it loud and play it fast and play it like intense. Those are the main ingredients to their musical sound. And it's not as much about a well-crafted melody or finding these really interesting harmonies or like the ways that the notes interact with each other. It's not really about that. It's about like a machine gun barrage of sound and what's the like loudest and fastest that we can do.
Yeah, like I said, it's not very melodic.
Yeah, or nuanced even.
No, no nuance. And that's why it's so hard to fucking listen to for me, I guess, because it's like a barrage. It's like an assault. It really is. It's like just fucking screaming in your face. And it's just like, but why? Like, what's
Yeah.
enjoyable about that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's so many fans on the documentaries, and okay, it's really funny because there's like, I watched a handful of fan made documentaries that were like the more intellectual fans, like you were talking about. You think that maybe the majority of their fans are like the ones that are in on the joke kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
But then one of the last few documentaries I watched was like, the people who made it seemed in on the joke, but the people they were interviewing, like outside of Slayer shows, I was like, Slayer fans, a lot of them, I feel like this music might appeal to people who just want to be aggressive for no real purpose. I like shit that has more of a point or a message, or you're mad about something specific. One thing I did enjoy about Slayer is the anti-Christian shit. Every now and then I would be like, are they actually anti-Christian, or are they like, for I got confused here and there, because to me, like, Satanism is already, you're buying into not real Satanism, like really the Church of Satan has nothing to do with that shit, I'm pretty sure. Like, but there's this version that's people who haven't done any research kind of just taking shit at face value, basically the opposite side of like the moms who just hate the shit because it has a pentagram on it or whatever. The other side of that, of the people who like it just because it has that, but there's nothing behind it.
Yes. To me, it's like Slayer was built in a lab to piss off moms or to like
Yeah.
scare moms. That's their reason for being. That's their purpose is like, oh, you think pentagrams are scary? Wait till you see how many pentagrams we put on this. Or like,
Yeah.
oh, you
Blood.
think the devil is out to corrupt your children? We're going to put a bunch of upside down crosses on this just to freak people out. And to me, the appeal of that as like a young person, okay, I'm going to preface this by, or I guess we've been talking for a while, but like I'm going to sound 1,000 years old over the course of this. And it's not that it's not coming from a place like I don't think this should exist or I think it should be censored or anything like that. I just generally feel like it's kind of immature. Like there's
Yes,
not much
extremely.
substance to it. It really is just designed to ruffle people's feathers. Also, that being said, I think people's feathers need to be ruffled every so often.
I agree, but like I was saying, I prefer, and I think it's just more productive if your feathers are ruffled for a fucking reason. There's a purpose behind it,
Yeah,
or an
rather than just making people mad or upset or whatever.
yeah, like I get the absurdity of that, and I've done a lot of clowning in my life. I get that energy totally, but for me, that can only go so far, and we really only need splashes of that as far as the greater good goes, or like building something goes, or progression, or whatever. It's interesting. I would like to know which songs the Tom guy wrote lyrically, with if there are any.
Well, my guess is it's after 2013, after Hanneman passed away and wasn't around anymore. My guess is he wrote more of the songs on the latter albums, latter two or three
Okay, well, the
albums.
latter albums are my favorite ones.
Yeah.
So to me, the Tom guy he's my favorite guy in the band.
Hang on. Hang on. Because I may have just found out that he's.
What is he, like, fucking Trumper or
Yeah, hang on. I found he made a pro Trump Instagram post.
okay, that's just plain fucking dumb. He thought it was funny, posted it
Yeah.
because he thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Is what, and it's literally just a photoshopped picture of Trump with Slayer, like
Devil horns or something.
just
But
their
again,
heads.
it's like, does that mean he
The whole
endorses?
time listening to them, I was like, are these guys white supremacists? Like, what
Yeah,
the fuck
I
is
don't
happening?
know. I don't.
Well,
I
and that's
don't.
the thing, is like all the moms up in arms and shit, and so many people were pissed off at them because they brought a lot of Nazi imagery into it, which is
Mhm.
obviously fucking dumb. Like, why would you? What's the purpose of that? And
To
so
piss
all
people
this,
off,
well, yeah, well, all
to
the
shock
research I
people, and
did
yeah.
was saying this one guy in the band is a history buff and he collects memorabilia from both sides and blah blah blah, all this shit. Well, guess what? Every history buff I've ever known was a goddamn fascist, basically. Like, I accidentally dated a fucking Nazi once, and when we were dating, we would always be watching the fucking History Channel, and I just thought he liked the History Channel, right?
Yeah,
And then
well,
one time I was at his house and I was cold, so I went into his closet to get a sweater, and there was a Nazi flag hanging in his fucking closet. And this is a goddamn kid in a punk band, you know what I mean? So he was one of those skinhead punks that, and I didn't even realize it. So I'm getting a fucking sweater out of his closet. I saw that Nazi flag. I was like, all these images of the past flashing through my mind of like all the History Channel docs we've watched. I'm like, you know what? Those were all the same era of history that we were fucking watching in this shit. And so, yeah, I got out of there real fast.
You wanna go through from like the beginning because like I think that stuff kind of crops up with Rain and Blood and the 80s stuff. And I do want to
Do you
get
have
into
any
that,
history with Slayer?
like having listened to them before.
Yeah, do you have any
Oh,
past history with
no.
Slayer?
I mean, the only song of theirs that I like knew anything about was Rain and Blood, and I'm pretty sure it was in like Rock Band or Guitar Hero or something, and that was the only.
Interesting.
They were not. My parents were not the type to like send you to boarding school or whatever, but I'm pretty sure if they had found a Slayer album in our house anywhere, they would have sent all of us to some
Oh
re-education
shit.
camp.
Really?
Well, just because like looking at any of their album covers, like they wouldn't have done the research to find out like this is tongue in cheek or over the top or whatever. It just straight up looks like evil shit because it's designed to look like evil shit that they would have like exercised us or
That is one
something.
thing that I'm like weirdly grateful about is like my family, albeit dealt with a lot of like abuse and neglect. They didn't fucking censor like what we watched or what we listened to,
Yeah.
like because they liked so much shit. You know what I mean? Like my mom, the Christian, she was in like a Christian quartet, but she secretly loved Kiss. And, she's the one that introduced me to Kiss. Apparently, oh my God, I got a good story from my dad recently. Apparently, every time they would get in the car together when they were like, together when they were younger or whatever, she would be playing Christian music. He said he found under her seat in her car all the fucking rock CDs that she had stashed under there that she listened to when nobody was in the car with her. How fucked is that? So she probably grew up with parents who censored it, I would assume.
Just enjoy yourself. Which like
I know.
yeah, this come
So
like
sad.
growing up definitely would have not it would have led to like we need to have a talk conversation. She like to
Interesting.
be for real, that's what it would have been. And it would have been something I would have had to listen to on my own or like, once yeah,
Privately.
privately. And
Secretly.
but also, believe it or not, this isn't really a vibe that appeals to me even now, even even as an adult.
Same,
It's not
same,
really
same.
my it's too aggressive and tough guy.
I liked some metal when I was a
And
youth.
I even like loud and aggressive music too, but this is
Yeah,
like I don't know, this feels like football player music or like
totally, dude. Totally.
guy in the army music or stuff like that. Not
It's hella broy for
yeah, it
sure.
is it is just kind of broy and that's not wasn't my vibe then, still not really my vibe now.
I like my metal to be more intellectual and more melodic.
I think there's a scale between the straight hair metal stuff from the 80s and like Slayer, thrash, like almost atonal metal, where it's just
It's
loud and
just noise.
fast
Yeah.
and just kind of noisy. And I on that spectrum would gear more towards the melodic, like more musical side of stuff. Would I rather listen to Van Halen than this? Who like Van Halen, again, not super metal, but a lot more concerned with like smoking guitar riffs but more melody in there. I would rather listen to that version of it than Slayer's version of it.
Well, my thought is like Ozzy,
Oh yeah, a
like
thousand.
Black Sabbath. Like I fucking went to Ozfest when I was a teenager. I liked a lot of bands. All the fucking bands that Slayer was supposedly inspired by,
Hmm.
all of them I like way, way, way more than Slayer. All the bands who were inspired by Slayer, I like way more than Slayer. And it's really interesting because my guess of what it is that they were one of the first to do this one specific
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
Not that that thing's good necessarily, but it was different at the
Yes.
time. So it changed something in people's minds where they could do something different in their own music, but they all did it better to me anyway. Like to me, Slayer is like pretty much the most rudimentary it gets when it comes to this type of shit.
Yeah.
Not that it's not technically, obviously they're shredding or whatever. Like I can't make my fingers do that. But I mean, I just did a but
Yeah, that's
that wouldn't sound like anything.
you can
I mean,
do
it
it. Oh
probably
my
would sound
god.
similar.
Put a guitar.
Actually, maybe it would sound similar.
Give her
Who
a
knows?
guitar. She can do it.
But yeah. I don't really have much of a history with Slayer other than the fact that I was like friends with metalheads in high school
Hmm.
and in college too, I guess. But yeah, and even my friends, my metalhead friends weren't necessarily overtly into Slayer specifically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were just kind of into the genre as a whole. And I did have one friend that was like super into Cannibal Corpse. Oh my God, he was like their number one fan basically. And Cannibal Corpse was actually in a few of these Slayer documentaries that I watched. It was really interesting to see all the interviews of all these metal guys from back in the day because they have long hair. They're all little skinny boys and they all are kind of soft in a way. A lot of them actually are just overtly soft, and they are unapologetic about it, and they like that. A lot of the guys on these documentaries, I was like, that guy's cool. Like, I would be friends with him, and I might like their band better. So there were a few bands that I kind of want to check out just from watching the documentaries I watched on Slayer. But it was really interesting because there's this version of metal guys that are like little teddy bears, and they just happen to like metal. But there's this other version, which I think maybe possibly the majority are the teddy bear ones. That's my friends group anyway, is more represents that version. And then there's this other brand that's like kind of like how we talk about different brands of punks that are concerned with the world at large, and punks that are just stupid and aggressive and like to thrash around. That's the energy I get from Slayer.
I think that Slayer is, if you take the fast, loud, heavy aspect of metal, and like that's what you like, there's a row of dials, you know, and you turn those parts of it up and you turn everything else way down, Slayer is what comes out, right? And so if that's what you want, they're a really good distillation of that. I can't see it being the only band that you listen to, or even saying it's like your favorite. But it's like, man, if you want thrash metal, listen to Slayer. They're going to give that to you. Like if that's what you want, they are going to 100% give you that. If it's not what you want, then you're not going to get much out of it.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much to get from Iron Maiden, so I was like hoping for that with this because they're so spoken about.
They're equal shots in the dark for me, and they both have the just in the brain space of like they made moms mad in the 80s and people thought they were satanic and all the imagery and stuff. And so when we did Iron Maiden, and I learned that actually they're really literary and they have all this way deeper meaning and they're really thoughtful, and they kind of seem like decent guys and, you know, kind of music nerd. So this Slayer is like, well, Iron Maiden was like that. What's Slayer like? You know, they also have that same reputation of like being satanic, and did they get mislabeled and all that stuff? It's hard to argue that they were mislabeled. Like, I think it's easy to argue that Iron Maiden was mislabeled because their songs really aren't about like Satan and Satanism and all that stuff. But Slayer's songs, whether or not they endorse it or believe it, their songs are about Satan and Satanism.
They are about that shit,
and hell and demons and serial killers and violence and like occultism and all that stuff. That literally is what their lyrics are. Even if it's, you know, an artistic statement or a critique on the state of society, like all that stuff, but the words themselves are talking about those things.
That was what Tom said in an interview at one point that made me go, okay, well, maybe he has something he's putting behind it in his mind. But if the other guy's writing the lyrics alone themselves are not giving me because they're like, we're just stating the truth of reality.
Sure.
These things happen. There are bad things happening a lot. Basically, that was what Tom was about. He was like, I see bad things everywhere, bad things on the news. Yeah. I'm reflecting what the world is, basically.
And I think there is an element of like, it is valuable to have the dark side of humanity on display rather than pretending it doesn't exist and sweeping it under the rug and all that stuff.
I agree, but I feel like there needs to be, or it's helpful if there's a indicator that it is bad. And see, their whole thing was saying that we're saying all this shit as from a neutral standpoint. And it's like, well, if it's from a neutral lens, then people can put whatever they want on it and people can glamorize it and glorify it or whatever. And so that's when I'm like feeling 100 years old, like I would be in this mom group. You know what I mean? Which obviously I wouldn't.
Right.
But I definitely see where the moms were coming from on this one specifically, which is not what I would normally say.
I agree. But it's like, the thing is, you should not feel neutral about the Holocaust or the people
serial killers or fucking,
like,
exactly.
It is bad to murder people. You should not, that shouldn't be like both sides. It's like, no, this isn't
no,
both
bitch.
Sides.
Yeah, no.
And I do think there's some of that, like, well, both sides, you got to hear both sides, and like, you don't.
Well, in the fact, it doesn't need to be highlighted.
Yes.
And like, the fact that Tom is saying all this bad stuff happens in the world and he's saying the word bad, it's like, why don't you go ahead and put that
somewhere
color on it? Yeah, exactly. Tell us more about how bad it is.
Because what really what their stuff appears to be is like, this shit happens and it looks sick.
And it's cool. Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's what like so many people that are fans and like even them themselves like compare it to horror movies, which I
Yes.
do understand the comparison. And that's how kind of I was trying to go into this looking at it as that because I do love horror movies, but my favorite horror movies have a fucking message. You know what I mean behind them. It's called a horror movie because it's horrific. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like this is just called music. And so I don't know. It's you need to label
But
it.
in the horror genre, people root for Jason in Friday the 13th. Freddy Krueger is the star of the Nightmare on Elm Street
Freddy has
movies.
pizzazz.
Okay, but that's because it appeals to you. But
Jason's boring,
that's
but Freddy
because
has
yeah. But
pizzazz.
that's because it appeals to you. And so that version of it is what appeals to other people, where it's like it is like rooting for the serial killer in a movie franchise. It's very similar to that.
Yeah, and it's also just a release.
Yes.
Because when things are bad in the world, you watch this shit as a release, you listen to Slayer as a release. And I get that vibe of like how the fans are going to the shows and freaking out and releasing all this energy.
Or if you look at the presentation of idyllic life, like think about 1980s Reagan America. It's trying to be the 50s. You're trying to pretend like everything's okay. And to have this band come up and say everything's not okay, bad shit is happening, and say it, not only like say it sonically in a way that's hard to ignore, but like visually in a way that's hard to ignore, and to give you as a disaffected young person something like a shirt to put on that says, I reject your society and I'm doing this other thing, like I'm not buying into your facade. That's the value of the art. That's the value of having it exist in the world. Does that mean I enjoy listening to it?
But like you said, that's immature.
Well, sure.
That's the very baseline of where you begin, and then you should go further.
Right.
I think. I mean, obviously, people can do whatever they want. They can stay on the baseline or below the baseline their whole lives, which they do all the time. But my preference for human beings and art is to start at that baseline, but then continue further. Keep growing.
To be fair, I think by the end of their career, they were making more substantial criticisms. I think they turned relatively anti-war, and they were always anti-religion, but I think they codified their message a little bit better in
Yes.
later
Yes.
times to say this is hurting people, like your lies and your hypocrisy and stuff is actually making the world a worse place, and you're trying to use this blanket of religion to actually harm people. I do think that message got a little more clear later in their career. So I do think that they evolved a little bit that way. I do think that early on in their career, it just straight up was.
They were glamorizing the shit.
Well, I think it was shock value. I don't necessarily think that it was even about like saying it was cool or whatever. I think it was a way.
The serial killer stuff, I think they were.
But I think
saying
they were
that's cool.
doing it to shock people and to get noticed and to stand out from people, not because they wanted people to go out and become serial killers, but because you're from LA, there's 400 hair metal bands, but you're Slayer, you're in the band that's like the most extreme or the sickest or the like hardest or the write the most, like messed up lyrics.
Speaking of that, something that really sucked about Slayer is they're fucking homophobic. In a bunch of interviews, we're talking about how they were trying to make themselves stand out from the other bands that all the girls that wore makeup on stage and had long hair and blah blah blah. And it's like, first of all, you guys have fucking long hair. Second of all, you're pouring blood all over yourselves, which is almost makeup. I mean, let's be real. It's like the metal version.
All right, this will be a good segue into like getting started. When they started as a cover band. They're all high school age or like right out of high school. So they are young dudes. And they started playing like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, like British metal.
They started covering a bunch of shit that I actually like. The good metal and punk.
And if you listen to their early stuff, it's closer to that version, the like British metal stuff, than what they turned into, especially their first album. But when they were playing on stage, they were playing basically dress up. They were wearing like the leather stuff and trying to be like shocking, but they were also wearing makeup and eyeliner and all that. And it wasn't until they started playing with some other bands that I think were kind of like, what are you doing? Like kind of made fun of them for it a little bit. I read some stuff that was like after they played with some other band, they called them out on it. They quit.
They talk shit about Dee Snider. They talk shit about Kiss. They talk shit about all those guys.
They quit doing that though. But that is where they came from too. That's what they started doing. And so I think that it was like we're doing what everybody else is doing, but then we see everybody else is doing it. So now we're going to do something different. And I'm not saying they're not homophobic. I read some other stuff that led me to believe that's probably true too.
Yeah, no, a bunch of the random shit they were
Yeah.
saying. I mean, just referring to men in makeup as girls. I mean,
Yes.
that alone is that's just dumb.
But I think them not doing it was more a way to separate themselves, similar to the lyric stuff. Like, is more a way to separate themselves than being because they were doing it to begin with. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like a moralistic choice as much as it was a kind of a business decision, which I feel like most of their stuff is. Again, I feel like they're really good at branding, and I felt like they found a niche and they were successful with it, and they just continued to drill down on it, almost to the point of like caricature, or like
Oh,
they
for
kind of
sure.
become cartoon characters after like 1990 probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they start as a cover band from Southern California. They're playing around LA, and the dude that runs Metal Blade Records came to a show and saw them at a show and thought they were awesome or whatever and really enjoyed it. And they ended up getting asked to put one song on a compilation album that Metal Blade put out, which ended up having like them and super early Metallica. And it had like three or four artists that ended up being huge metal bands and specifically thrash metal bands. And so that led them into getting signed to Metal Blade, and that's who they put their first album out with, which was Show No Mercy in 1983, which I think they formed in like 81. So they'd been playing around for like 18 months or 2 years or something before they recorded their first album. And Show No Mercy is the most like it's the least Slayer sounding album. And when it started, I was actually like, "Oh, this is kind of sick. I kind of enjoy this." Like it did have like it's again very over the top, a lot of the satanic imagery and stuff like that, but it didn't feel as graphic as some of their other stuff eventually ended up being, where it was like this is a little too much for me to like
Hmm.
personally find enjoyable. So Show No Mercy is kind of an outlier, and I think people kind of look down on it. I didn't hate it, but it was also not like as specific to Slayer as I think what they eventually
Yeah.
ended up
They
being.
hadn't found their whatever
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, whatever their thing is,
Whatever they ended up
they hadn't
finding.
really
Yeah.
found it yet.
It's just loud and fast is what their thing is.
That's
Aggression.
100% it.
And that's pretty much what they said in like documentaries that I watched. And just as like a reminder of how I do this, like what I do is I listen to all of their albums first before I do any research. So I don't even know who the fucking band is basically when I listen to all of it because I want to get like my first impression of how the music actually sounds. Because, initially for me, this podcast was that was my whole plan is just to do that and
Right.
talk about how the music sounds to me, and then I started doing more research later. So now I do that. I do my listen and then I go do a bunch of research, and then sometimes I'll go back and listen again. And I had planned to go back and listen again to Slayer, but I didn't feel
I
the
didn't
need or
either.
desire to
Yeah,
after
same.
I, yeah.
Same.
So my one note on that album is second song had a sick guitar jam.
I mean, there's interesting guitar work throughout their whole career, but like I like this stuff here because it's more, like I said, it's closer to that like British heavy metal stuff like Priest and Maiden, which turns out I at least now know like my metal preferences. I prefer that to the thrash stuff.
I mean, yeah,
But in defense of choosing this band, two things. Slayer they're one of the big four metal bands. It's or thrash metal bands. It's
right.
them and Megadeth and Metallica and Anthrax. And so they are indicative of a style and of a genre. And I think by learning a lot about Slayer and listening to a lot of Slayer, it's like if a band describes themselves as like death metal or thrash metal, I just am kind of it's just not my speed, not my preferred genre.
All of those other bands I think better than
All of
Slayer.
those other bands I've listened to more than I've listened to Slayer, except for maybe Anthrax.
See, I listened to a little bit of Anthrax. I'm not super familiar with Megadeth, and honestly, Metallica is melodic as fuck. Metallica is sounds really good. It's undeniable. Like I was annoyed with Metallica at the time when they were like huge because their fans were really annoying, and they were really annoying as people just listening
Yes,
to
they
them
suck
talk.
in
They were
their
very
own
irritating.
unique way, but they at least have
Yes,
melody and variety
but
in
the
their songs.
music,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like I could listen. I've been singing Metallica. I've had fucking Metallica in my head all week, actually, because when I listen to Slayer, it just reminds me of metal that I like better. And I'm not like a huge metal guy either, so it's not like I'm a fucking authority on any of this, but I'm just saying what I enjoy listening to more.
That's my whole takeaway, like big picture for them is like I can see why people enjoy it. I don't necessarily enjoy it. I'm not going to sit here and say that it sucks or that this metal band is better than that. Like it's just a thing that's outside of my personal taste. I'm willing to admit that I don't necessarily like it, but not say that it's like terrible.
I'll say that in a bunch of different other words.
Yeah. And then after about an hour and a half, we'll call it quits, and that'll be the show. So really the first three, Show No Mercy or Hell Awaits, first two like full lengths, and then Haunting the Chapel, the EP, that's kind of them figuring out their footing, figuring out who they are, figuring out kind of what their aesthetic and vibe and sound are. And it's not until 1986 with Rain and Blood that when you think of Slayer, that's the beginning of like, this is it. This is Slayer. This is what they sound like. The other ones have all that stuff in there, but it was really codified and clarified on Rain and Blood. So Dave Lombardo, the drummer for Rain and Blood, brought in Rick Rubin to produce Rain and Blood. And so we had already talked about Rick Rubin with Beastie Boys, where he was like their roommate and was kind of in the band for a little bit and ended up producing their first album, also released in 1986. So he was working on Beastie Boys' debut while he was producing Rain and Blood, which is why Kerry King is on No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Like all the guitar work is Kerry King from Slayer on the Beastie Boys debut album. Now I can visualize that. Now I can see it. Now it makes sense. Like why was
Everything's connected.
Yeah, why was Slayer on Beastie Boys album was Rick Rubin. And I think people have a lot of feelings about Rick Rubin as a producer, but if nothing else, he does have an ear for like what is going to work and not work. I don't know that he's like a technical mastermind, but I do think that he helps guide bands to craft a very packaged and marketable persona. And for Slayer, what that is that violent, extreme, Satanist, dark, heavy. He took all of those aspects and it really feels like turned everything up to like 13. And that's kind of where they continued to exist for the rest of their career. But do you remember how the Beastie Boys were saying that they were the wrestling heels? Like when they first started, they were kind of like the irritating bad boys or whatever and wanted to come out and shock people and be assholes, and like that was that was going to be how they got notoriety. It's the same thing that happened with Slayer. They were like, you're going to be the wrestling bad guys. You're going to be these big over the top characters.
And they were like, fuck yeah, we are.
Yeah, 100%. And you're going to piss people off and you're going to scare people, and
but in a way less fun way than Beastie Boys energy.
Agreed. Not really fun at all.
Just the actual bad guys.
But effective.
Like the Beastie Boys are like Doink the Clown, and Slayer is like, I don't know, fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin, or like, I don't know, just, and honestly, the Kerry King kind of looks like Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he always wears sunglasses. I'm like, what are you trying to hide, brother?
That's, you know what? There is the wrestling parallel for me. I grew up a WCW fan. The WWF or WWE was always a little too like, it was too much. It was too over the top. It was a little too vulgar. It was just, it didn't appeal to me. And that's kind of Slayer's kind of the same way, where it's like
I went with two different eras there.
Yeah.
I should have gone Doink the Clown and The Undertaker because that's what Slayer wishes they were. But I take The Undertaker more seriously than I take Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know what I mean? And Stone Cold gives me like bro-y energy.
I think that's the whole thing, is like they wrote stuff that was graphic. And talking about the horror movie aspect of it, like I also enjoy horror movies. I watch them pretty regularly. I'm not a type of person that says that the people that make it or sick, or B, the people that watch it are sick, or there's something wrong with them or whatever. Like I understand the appeal, but there is a genre of horror movie that I don't like. Like I don't do the hostile
like torture porn
stuff.
Exactly. Hostel was what I was thinking of the whole time that you were talking. So when that movie came out, part of it made me gag. Am I interrupting your thought?
No, I'll just try to be more interesting so you're not imagining a movie the next time I'm...
No, I was, as you were describing.
Yes, so, while you were talking, I was just envisioning this entire other thing.
No, I was envisioning what you were talking about.
I'm intentionally taking it the wrong way.
So as I was thinking of Slayer and comparing them to horror movies in my mind, I was thinking about Hostel because when Hostel came out, there's a specific part of that movie where someone has a ball gag in their mouth and they vomit and it like sprays out of the ball gag. I laughed and gagged at the same time when that happened in the movie. And when I was a teenager, when that shit was happening, I was totally into it and I thought it was great. But now I fucking hate horror movies like that, and I hate over the top shit like that. And so maybe when I was a teenager, if I had tried to get into Slayer back then, maybe I would have been able to be more into it. But I have evolved, so like I can't bring myself myself back to that level as easily.
Yeah, I worry about saying evolved. Like that sounds, it feels a little more judgmental. It just doesn't appeal to me anymore. I don't.
Well, and I feel like that's just because I've grown as a
Well,
person. Like I don't I mean, facts is facts.
like with those movies, I'm not arguing that they shouldn't exist. I'm not arguing anything like that, but I'm not going to go see those movies in a movie theater. I know that it's not something.
It's funny how much I love horror movies and stuff. The older I get, the more I see the mom side of it, where I'm like, this is actually bad for your psyche. Like, I've had to take breaks for years of like not watching very many horror movies because it really truly does it like worms its way into your
For
fucking
sure.
system.
And especially when you talk about like kids and unfully developed brains and children and stuff, like I do think that like there should be some limitations on that, but I don't think it's Slayer's job to police that or the artist's job to make sure that that's not being seen by kids. Like they didn't have
Totally,
your
totally,
kids and they're not responsible for raising them. So
totally.
while I will say that like I don't think it's appropriate for kids to be exposed to that sort of thing, I don't think that the accountability should be on the creator of the thing.
Yeah, I see where your head's at on that for sure. And I agree. Kind of like the shit that we watched in Belgium when we watched that shitty horror movie.
Yeah, I barely even remember that.
It was just torture porn bullshit with like some goat fucking or something in
Yeah.
it. It was just fucking, there was no point to it and it was just grotesque for no fucking reason. And in it almost in a way that it's like, are you glorifying this? Like, what's the fucking point of doing this? And that's kind of how I feel about shit like Slayer sometimes. When it gets to such an extreme point, I do want to argue that should not have been made. And when I watched it, I was way more open to that type of shit even. And even back then, I was like, what the fuck am I watching? And then, you know, Human Centipede came out and I saw the preview and it gave me nightmares for like a month and I wouldn't even watch
Yeah.
that shit. But it's like shit like that. What is the value that of it? Not everything has to have value, sure, but if you make something that has a lot of potential to maybe cause harm, I would say arguably that shouldn't be made if there's no value to it. And, you know, not that things all have to have value, but if the negative side is so negative that like the lack of value, you know, when the lack of value causes extreme harm,
Sure,
you
sure,
know
sure.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, I agree with your, like, we shouldn't be censoring shit for the most part, but it gets to a point where it's like, okay, but maybe, you know? And I hate to say shit like that. It's like with this Republican type shit. It's like some of these people need to shut the fuck up because
Yeah. Yeah.
they're fucking getting masses on this page that nobody needs to be on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard to say like, yay, freedom of speech all around because and that's fucked up. And you wouldn't think I would ever say that. You know,
Right.
it's a very complex situation.
So it's like a test of your convictions. You know, if you really think freedom of speech is
totally.
important, it's like, well, if you think it's important, then I can say this, you know, and
Freedom of speech is important, but shut the fuck up,
well,
please,
yes,
is what
yeah,
I
yeah.
want to say to
Well,
a lot of people.
but they're clearly doing something that appeals to a lot of people.
Not necessarily Slayer specifically.
No, I know it's a larger thing.
Yeah.
But even though their stuff is like in poor taste or over the top or hyper violent
Yeah.
or whatever, it does appeal to a lot of people. And so there's something in the fact that it appeals to a lot of people that I think is worth examining, even though this is not a band that you can read their lyrics out and say, wow, they really think this, because that's what they like. That's the point of them writing it, is to get you to do that and to get you to be offended about that.
Well, literally, a lot of their lyrics, like it's just words strung together and that sound cool or something that don't even have a meaning behind them.
100%.
Like a lot of their lyrics don't make any fucking sense.
They either sound cool or are over the top, like violent or gory or
Right.
whatever. So
It's like a bunch of trigger words, basically.
yes, exactly. And I can't. There's again, you cannot. If you wanted to read, like I know we've done it before on this podcast, but if you wanted to read their lyrics and be like, huh, so you like that, you know, like
Yeah. Well, and a lot of interviewers did that
yeah,
to them.
but for them, it's like, no, man, we were just trying to write like the most, like the darkest thing we could think of or the most messed up thing we could think of. It's not
Or reality, a reflection
or a
of
reflection of
reality.
reality. And
Or just trying to piss people off. They said all of those things in the interviews.
And I
so.
think that is, depending on the song, I think like that is one of the four categories that most of their songs fall in. I would add a fifth of like, I think sometimes they are actually trying to say things.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
what most of their songs are trying to do.
Trying, but not like it's not overly effectual,
I
in
think it is
my
effective at
opinion.
pissing people off. I think it does do a really good
Not
job.
that trying to say things,
Oh,
the part
yeah.
where they're trying to say things.
Yeah.
But yeah, like all that shit I was saying a second ago, none of that to me really super applies to
Yeah.
Slayer. To me, Slayer is like so low rung, like it's not making that much of an impact to me.
Yeah.
Although there was like this one case where a kid that listened to Slayer like murdered and raped a girl because they talk about like necrophilia and
Well,
shit.
so that was in 1995. They got sued. The mother of the girl sued Slayer for like basically inspiring these people to murder her daughter. And they said that they were sacrificing her to the devil. And they were, I think they were maybe in a metal band and they said they were fans of Slayer. And Slayer has songs about sacrificing people to the devil and about murdering women and stuff. And so,
And necrophilia.
yes, but also they ended up going to jail and the lawsuit was dropped. And they were also just stalking this girl and obsessed with her. There was other stuff going on. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they listened to a Slayer
The kids
album
were
and
obviously fucked.
yes.
Yeah.
And again, that's not Slayer's fault, like they can't be held
Right.
accountable for that.
But then there's a certain level of that sometimes that's giving like guns don't kill people, people kill people, you know what I mean? And it's like maybe if we cut down on the fucking guns,
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah. But again, slippery slope because if you start limiting that type of speech, then everything's
right.
going to get pushed into, well, that think of the children is such a common way to like that's how they argue against like drag shows and stuff, it's think of the children.
Right.
And so for you or not you, but like for a person to say Slayer or I don't want to get too specific because I don't think that's what you're trying to say, but like to say that this should be limited, that same argument could be applied to something that you don't find that actually isn't offensive.
That shouldn't be limited.
Yes,
Yeah,
like a drag
exactly.
show, where people would say
Right.
like, well, it's morally harmful. Think of the kids, and they'll use that same sort of language to limit speech that shouldn't be limited. It does have the value of like really making you say like, well, we got to let some people say some dumb shit if we're going to let other people say important things.
Right. And it's kind of funny because you were talking about in other episodes about like listening to shit we don't like. It's positive in a way that it just like helps us figure out what we like
Right.
and we don't like or
Yeah.
whatever. So I totally vibe on all of that.
Yeah, that's a different way of saying it. It's like by figuring out what's too far, you kind of figure out what's within the limits. Like by finding
Right.
the edges, you give a safer space to the people further away from the edges.
But it's funny that we're talking about all of this at this time specifically right now too, because of what's happening in the world. And it's funny too because Slayer, as I was listening to this, I was thinking this is apocalypse themed music.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
It is definitely like watch the world burn music. So Rain and Blood is kind of the start of them for me.
That's the fourth album, right?
Yeah, well, third full length. If you count the EP, it's the fourth one. Came out in 1986. Came out 7 days after I was born.
Oh, I noticed that they did do some stuff in December of 86 as well. One guy was describing a show that he was walking into December 1st, 1986. And I was like, interesting. This guy that I'm watching on this video on fucking YouTube right now, when YouTube didn't even exist in 1986, the fucking internet wasn't even a thing in 1986, you know what I mean? And so this guy that I'm watching right now, that somebody somehow videoed with a VHS camera probably, like it fucking was walking into a show just a couple of weeks before I was fucking coming out of a womb in the middle of nowhere. Like it's just cool to think about that stuff sometimes. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of how I remember the world looking, actually, because I assumed when I was watching that documentary, it was actually, I think the documentary was like in the 90s or something, but he was reminiscing in his story. He was like, yeah, I walked in. I remember the first time I ever saw Slayer was December 1st, 1986. But yeah, the second album, I thought the song At Dawn had a kind of it was pretty cheesy sounding. Yeah. And then the third album opened with a sick scream.
Yeah.
Is that the scream you were talking about earlier?
That's the song Angel of Death, which...
Yeah, that's like their most popular song or something.
Well,
right?
and it's
pretty
the one
much
about the Nazi surgeon guy that did human experiments. They got them their first like Nazi sympathizer accusations, but it was written by Jeff Hanneman, and he said his father collected Nazi memorabilia from Nazis that he actually killed in World War II.
Yeah, actually, I think the album cover behind you is the Nazi eagle thing.
No, I didn't put that background on specifically.
Oh, okay, good. I just see claws. That's all I see.
So he apparently like had a book about the surgeon guy, and he was like reading it on tour, and so he had all this stuff going on in his head, and that's how they wrote the song, or that's why they wrote the song. because he had all this imagery and stuff. And, it's another one of those like, are you including Nazi imagery because you agree with it or to shock people, or what's the idea, man? What's the goal behind it? And I would argue that like any shock value is outweighed by, like you said, the harm that it can be done to people. They clearly don't feel that way and continue to play this song live.
Clearly.
And so it's like, are they Nazis? Like, do I legit think that they're Nazis? Like, no, not necessarily. Do I think this song is in poor taste and not something that I like want to vibe out to ever in my life? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, that one. Like,
for sure.
I don't enjoy having these thoughts in my brain while I'm trying to like. Music is something that brings joy and is like a reprieve of the everyday existence, and this song does not do that. And I would argue Slayer doesn't really do that as a whole.
Literally one of the best musicians ever to me is Sufjan, and he has that song about John Wayne Gacy.
Yes.
And it is similar energy as far as it's just straight up neutral
Mm-hmm.
telling the story. That whole album is describing events. And I skip that song every time. I have it like blocked because I fucking that song upsets me so much. John Wayne Gacy is one of the ones that upsets me the most. And it's interesting because when I was a teenager, I was totally into serial killers like these guys were also.
Mm-hmm.
Like I totally did a lot of research on like serial killers. I watched all those serial killer movies that were coming out back when I was a teenager. So like I kind of get the appeal and the interest a little bit. And like who knows what their childhoods were like.
I actually did read stuff that like said they had pretty normal childhoods. Like for real, they grew up
Good
like
for them.
not they weren't like
Okay, well, what's their fucking excuse?
yeah, exactly. Didn't seem to be like they came from broken homes, or at least the story that they tell wasn't like victims of abuse or anything like that. So I think they just liked metal and dark stuff. And again,
And they just wanted to stand out and stuff.
yes, and it's one of those things like they found success with it, and it's like, well, if they like this, they'll probably like this, and you go a little bit further, and you go a little bit further, and I truly think that Rain and Blood especially was like, let's see how extreme we can take it. Let's see how messed up we can make the lyrics. Let's see how fast we can make the guitars and the drums, and like how extreme we can go. It is kind of a thought experiment to me of like, how much can we do this? How dark can we make it? How fast can we make it? Which kind of bleeds into South of Heaven. If you compare Rain and Blood and South of Heaven, they are the two best examples of Slayer to me. Rain and Blood is a super fast, thrashy, like everything maximum volume and velocity. And then South of Heaven, they said like, we already did it as fast as we could. We literally can't play any faster. So we have to figure something else out. And they did a lot more like slower, still heavy, but more of the like halftime heavy, not like sludge necessarily. South of Heaven is like the slow version of Slayer. They take it from being super fast to like they kind of slow everything down. And then Seasons of the Abyss, the 1991, which I think is their like, those are the three. If you're going to listen to Slayer albums, those are the three to listen to. Seasons in the Abyss has like both sides of it. It has a mix of both of those songs. But to me, that's the really only way that I can differentiate Slayer songs is like there's the really fast ones and then there's the kind of slower ones. And that's pretty much it. Like those are the two categories like sonically of their songs to me.
Yeah. And the slower ones pissed off a lot of their fans, apparently.
Yeah, I didn't hate them. They're not. I mean, if you want that like fast thrash speed version of it, they're not.
I think I
but-
probably prefer the slower songs, even though I didn't write that down anywhere. I would assume that I do, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I kind of did too. There's not much room for anything when everything's moving so fast, and it's all so the drummer plays not just with the double kick, like where there's two kick, like one kick pedal with two heads hitting one drum. He actually plays with two full size kick drum drums. And so he's playing with both pedals on both feet, but they're each hitting their own drum.
Which I totally get why he does that. It sounds better.
Yeah, he said he played so fast that if he did the double kick on one head, that it would be
It's like cutting off the
yes, like the
sound.
other one wouldn't get to ring out fully because it would be getting hit again by the other one. So he played both of them, so they got to
that
have a little bit
makes
more
way
space.
more sense.
And I think it really does make a difference, and it looks cool on stage.
It really does. And he's like a super prolific drummer that everyone's obsessed with. So,
Yeah, and he's musically, if to me, he's the one that like I get people saying he's a huge influence or that he like really
yeah,
changed the
yeah.
game in drumming. I definitely get that a lot more than the guitar sound. The guitar sound just is too muddy, it's too fast, it's too unclear in my opinion, like to be meaningful.
Yeah, totally. I totally
It
agree.
doesn't land. It moves so fast that it doesn't have time to like
It's so hard to absorb.
yeah.
Which is funny because my ADHD brain, like all these docs I was watching on like 2 times speed or 1.5 speed, like I watch people talk faster, but with that guitar playing, it's so fucking fast. But it's actually funny because Tom, I had to slow down the docs sometimes when he was talking because he was like the fastest talker of them, I guess. So I'm like, maybe he's more on my level of speed.
And that one was the Seasons in the Abyss was the last one with the like original lineup. After that album, the drummer left.
Did you say that that was your favorite one?
No, I don't even know that I would say that I have a favorite.
I definitely have a
It's
favorite.
the one that best exemplifies like both sides of their sound. It has the
Got
speed
it.
songs with the slow songs, like both kind of mesh. Like they did it really fast, they did it really slow, and on this album they
Yeah.
kind of like meshed the two styles.
Which seems like it would be better. I was having a hard time, quite frankly, discerning differences from album to album for a lot of
I
this.
kind of feel like I have like I would read stuff about it and they're like, well, this album is blah blah blah, and this album was whatever whatever, and this one was like this, and then I would go and listen to it and I'd be like, I literally physically cannot tell
Can't
a
hear the
difference
difference.
between.
Dude, thank you for saying that.
I'm not
Thank
as
you for fucking
versed
saying
in
that.
metal, but I felt kind of like I was being gaslit. Like, are
Me
y'all hearing?
too.
Are y'all really hearing different things in these? Because it all sounded, no, I won't say identical. There were production sounds that were different, and there was like, I do think that the drums sounded different once Lombardo left, and then once he came back. I do think there was a noticeable difference in the drums. But as far as like how I would describe the songs, they pretty much sounded indiscernible to me.
Pretty much everything bleeds into each
Yeah, and
other.
I don't know that I could tell. And it may just be a lack of like if I listen to a lot of metal, maybe it would be easier to tell the difference between
Yes,
them.
our ear is not discerning of our palate is not
No,
metal
but
flavored,
I do not
whatever.
have the ear to be like, well, this one is different because of this, which is kind
Yeah,
of makes it hard
totally,
for
totally.
basically everything after Seasons in the Abyss. It all kind of sounds like there's not going to be a point in any of those albums. It's like if you didn't like those, this no, check this. Okay, you didn't like that one, check this one out. It's like
Okay, I disagree a little bit because my favorite album is Undisputed Attitude. And I'm listening and I'm like, whoa, this one's like hella punk. And then, later I'm watching all this shit, all these documentaries, and this whole band started out like their main influence was punk. And I was like, what? Because they're so not punk. Like, I would not consider this a punk band at all. But like, they, in a lot of the documentary shit, talked about how influenced by punk they were and how they were trying to blend metal and punk. And that was the whole thing that they were trying to do from the get go. And I was like, huh, that's fucking interesting because this Undisputed Attitude album was the most punk one. And then, later research, I figured out that it's all punk covers,
yeah.
which, when they got to the Stooges song, I was like, what the fuck? And then they changed the lyrics to the Stooges song and made it fucking like white supremacist
No, it's not
sounding.
it's
Or
not a
the
Stooges
Minor
song.
Threat song,
It's a Minor
sorry.
Threat song. Yeah.
The Stooges song they also fucked with too, though, because it's "I Want to Be Your Dog" is the
Yeah.
lyrics of the Stooges
Yes.
song.
And they changed it
I
to
said "I want to be your god,"
yeah.
and they made all the lyrics super super sexual, like about eating her out and stuff. And "I Want to Be Your Dog" is about like play. It's about BDSM shit, but
Well,
they
again,
just made it
nuance,
over the top
subtlety,
graphic. Exactly,
not
exactly.
Slayer's, not Slayer's vibe. They are not subtle. They are not nuanced.
Right, right, right. But I thought the bass really slapped on the punk album because it was a punk style of
Yeah.
bass because they're covering songs. But I didn't realize as I was listening to it for a lot of it that it was covered.
See, I knew that one was a cover going into it, and then listening to it, I was like, "Oh, it felt like a reprieve. It felt like
Exactly. It was by far
which
the
is
best
weird
one.
when your hardcore punk songs are like that's like their acoustic album, pretty much.
Right.
It was like, oh, finally, just some gentle sounds of Minor Threat and hardcore punk
Yes.
rock.
Like basically the It sounds like Op Ivy, like the bass lines were like
Yeah.
very that style of punk.
He is not, in my opinion, a great bass player. Like you talk about bass and metal and listening to Iron Maiden, the bass in Iron Maiden is like an iconic part of their sound. I don't think that's true in Slayer. I think Slayer's sound is your crazy
Yeah,
chromatic
the
guitar
guitar shit.
scales
Yeah.
and the
And the
drums
drummer.
and the crazy
Yeah,
drums. I think
totally.
he's a serviceable bass player, and it like fills. There's not any room for him to
He
be doing
played the punk
anything
bass really well, I
crazy.
thought.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's not a good musician. There's just not room for like crazy bass runs or anything. He needs to just hold the line, and I think he does that. But as far as like musicality, there's less going on with the bass than everything else, I feel like.
But the bass did slap on Undisputed Attitude.
I would argue that album is maybe my favorite one, but it's like it's not really a Slayer album. It's a punk album played by
It's
Slayer.
the best one.
But they changed
But then they fucking changed the lyrics to fuck up a bunch of the
so
songs.
they changed "Guilty of Being White," the Minor Threat song, which only in the very last time that they say it, they changed "Guilty of Being White" to "Guilty of Being Right," which again, paired with the Nazi stuff, is like, what are we doing, guys? And their defense was like, we just thought it was funny, which is dismissive in a way that's like, either you're just really not thinking about it, or you really don't care how you're perceived, which I think is probably true. But it made Ian MacKaye really pissed off, and so he actually did comment on it and saying like that was super offensive, and so it was to the point where even like the guy who wrote the song is like, no, that's not cool.
He was fucking pissed.
Yeah, and so the guy who I don't think is a loudmouth guy, I don't think he would go
Not
out of
at
his way
all.
to say that wasn't cool.
Unless he was seriously fucking pissed.
Yes.
And he even thinks that song was a misguided song, even the
For
way
his
that
band,
he
yeah.
does it. Yes, exactly. And which I agree. When I listen to that song, I'm like, men are such fucking crybabies. Shut the fuck up. Like, that is all I hear when I hear that song.
But like Tom Araya is not white. He's from Chile. And Dave Lombardo is not white. He's Cuban. He was born in Cuba. So like half of Slayer is not even white guys, which is another layer to this that's like, I don't know. It's just really weird. It's hard to get a real pulse on a band whose whole thing is being not real. They have like, we're just kidding. We're just joking around, or it's not real. Like they have that defense for everything. And so if they do say or do something that's like over the line, they can just use that as their blanket, get away with it.
Right. And then they say shit like, oh, well, we didn't vote for Trump. But then they post this fucking picture with Trump, like photoshopped to be funny. And it's like, okay, well, what's funny about that?
Yeah.
Tell me. Fucking tell me what's funny about that. And then Tom has even said, like in interviews, that the nation's turned into a bunch of crybabies. When they're posting shit like this and saying shit like this, it's like, okay, well, which is it? Are you a Nazi or not, motherfucker? Because
If it walks
you're
like a duck.
Exactly. And it's really disappointing, especially when, people of color are fucking doing shit like this, because it's like, what?
So honestly, like I think we've hit on most of the keynotes of Slayer at this point. From 1998, Diabolus and Musica up through Repentless, it gets a little bit repetitive. They really hit on the anti-religion stuff.
Which, again, I enjoyed all the later albums the most because of that, I think, because I thought the lyrics were really funny.
Yeah. But see, like that to me, like if you apply how you feel about that to the earlier stuff, it's like that's the idea of it. Even if you don't find the other stuff funny, like I think I don't really want to defend what they said in most of their songs or anything like that. Like that's not really, I'm painting myself into a corner where it's like they can say it, I just don't have to like it.
I feel you. This whole time that I was listening to this, I was trying really hard to find what I liked about it, because I didn't want to come on here and just be like, I fucking hate this and there's no value or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to try and find what the value was. And that's what I'm trying to do with all of these bands,
Sure.
obviously.
And this one was kind of a challenge, because really after about 2 albums, I was like, I think I get it,
Right. And I'm not saying that this band or like their fans don't have the capacity for deep thought, but like, show me,
Yeah.
fucking prove it.
Yeah. Do
because if
something
you
good.
never do,
Yeah.
what am I to assume? Yeah, exactly. It just, I don't know. The religion ones were really funny though to me.
I did. So I only own, like usually when I try to do this, I'll try to buy a record or something like that. I actually came across a bunch of Slayer CDs, but I don't really want to own a bunch of Slayer CDs because I don't feel like I'm going to end up revisiting these. I did buy the Diabolus in Musica, the 1998 album, which is the like guy in a priest suit with the white face on the cover. It's like the negative
Yeah,
photo thing. I did buy that one on CD because out of the like five that I found, it was like $2. And so I was like, okay, I'll
nice.
pay $2 for a Slayer
Yeah,
CD. And
totally,
I did
totally.
listen to it on CD, which felt like true to the
Yeah.
original intent, you know. But that was the one that was like everybody talked about because that was when new metal was a thing, and everybody was like that was their quote unquote new metal album, and it sounded the most like I could notice a little bit of a difference in that. It sounded a lot like
I agree.
Korn or Limp Bizkit
I kind of
or
liked that one a little bit better, I
I
think.
didn't hate it, but I don't know if it was just like this sounds like more like music. I was never a fan of any of those bands, but like,
Right.
you know what I mean? You're
More
familiar
like
with that
music you're
sonic
familiar with.
palette. Yeah.
Totally,
And
totally,
so
totally.
I couldn't tell if it was like that's why I felt the way that I did about it. I could see being pissed at the time of like Slayer's trying to write a new metal album, but like it wasn't that different from the other Slayer stuff.
No, not different enough to be all pissed off about.
It was like it had like a nostalgicness to it for something I never heard of before that I didn't expect.
Did you see the one with the Jesus with no limbs?
Yeah, you're talking about the Christ Illusion album cover.
Yeah, like the one on Spotify's white cross with a black cross and shit.
I think Tidal has the actual album cover on it, but they
Yeah.
wouldn't carry it in stores. There were a bunch of stores that boycotted it, and so they had to. Same thing with God Hates Us All. It has a different album cover too, and so they had to put another cover.
That might have been God Hates Us All, actually.
God Hates Us All has the four crosses on it.
That's the one I'm thinking
Christ
of.
Illusion extra cover has the cover in the background, but it has the word like Slayer. Like it's actually a white background, and they cut the word Slayer out, and you can see the original background in the word Slayer. So you can't really tell what
Oh,
it is,
fun. Fun.
but
That's
it's
fun.
like you can see that it's
Their
back
version
there.
of censored.
That album cover. So it's the same dude that did the Rain and Blood, and I think the South of Heaven, and I think the Hell Awaits album cover. Same guy.
The artwork is so like 80s metalhead in his basement
Oh, force,
energy.
and I'm sure that's who that guy is.
Exactly what it is. Yeah. Which is somewhat enjoyable to me.
It got banned from a bunch of stores. They put it on park benches in Fullerton, California, and like the city got pissed off about it and like made them remove the ads from the park benches. But in India, that album got not only got like banned, but they forced EMI to like remove it from the shelves in India and destroy all the copies of it because it was so. It had the song Jihad on it, which was written from the perspective of a Muslim on September 11th, that like from the perspective of somebody who was carrying out September 11th, which pissed
Yeah.
off all the Muslim people. The cover art pissed off all the Christian people. And so in India, they just said, like, this isn't, you don't get to have this album here.
That's the thing is when you're making the shit from the perspective of like the bad guy or
Yeah.
whatever, it's like, well, what exactly are you doing there? But I do think it's hilarious the cover art thing because that's the level of shit that I can get on board with. I'm like the when it's a just a visual like a painting or whatever.
You say that, but I think it's interesting, and I feel similarly. But I think it's interesting that, like, for some reason, we are willing to give visual art a longer leash than we
Yeah.
are sonic art. Like, for some reason, it's easier to say, like, yeah, that painting, like, I get it. It may not be a style that I like or whatever, but like, I get pushing the envelope there. Or a movie, like, yeah, I don't like it, but I understand it more so than with music.
Well, a visual makes you think your own thoughts. It's way more open to interpretation. Obviously, I would say certain visuals, not so much. It just depends on what the visual is. Like I said, like the objectifying women shit on some of the metal albums. I'm like, I much prefer the limbless Christ or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just probably my brand of like what I believe he is. So I'm okay with it because to me, shitting on religion is fair game because of all the damage it's caused and whatnot. But what has that woman on the metal album done to you? You know what I mean? Like, we're shitting on the minorities here, or we're punching down versus punching up. Religion controls everything. So I don't know if I'm even giving that much more leeway, but maybe I am because like also with visuals you can interpret it in your own way and think your own thoughts about it, but then with lyrical content it's like saying words, and I feel like, poetry can be interpreted, but like it doesn't feel like poetry necessarily to
I
me.
think there's an element of like we are used to musicians and like singer-songwriters singing from a personal place. And so like you're primed to interpret it that way. Like when you hear a band sing something, you're thinking of it as that band saying that thing that like represents who they are. And it's really more like Slayer is characters in a movie saying a thing. Like you don't get mad at the actors for being a bad guy in a movie, right? Or like you don't hate Christian Bale because he was Patrick Bateman in American Psycho, because he's playing a bit or he's playing a part or he's like inhabiting a character. And I really kind of feel like Slayer is doing something similar, or like it's easier to think of a movie that way than it is to think of music that way for some reason.
Well, yeah, we talked about that in a different episode, and I don't remember which episode, but we've totally talked about this before. Because yeah, when it's a movie, it's clearly stated that this is a representation of a thing, but when it's a musician, it is not clearly stated. Unless it is clearly stated, like Guar.
Yeah.
If you want to be that, be
But
Guar.
look at Slayer's stage stuff. They're not that far off. Like if you look at all the stuff, they are pretty much that.
But I think they would probably talk shit about something like Guar because they talk shit about like the gimmicky type shit, which I thought was kind of funny and hypocritical when they did the blood raining
They
thing.
are so gimmicky. They are a gimmick.
Totally, dude. And I read some article about like there's this metal spiky thing that the king, I think, guy straps to his arm. But yeah, definitely all that stuff.
Yeah, it's all show. It's all a version of entertainment. Again, not my scene, not my speed. It's not really for me.
Not
I
for
do
me.
feel like I get it. I do feel like I understand what it is.
There's not too much to get as far as I can tell. And I tried really fucking hard to figure out what it was to get.
Yeah, I don't know. Culturally, I think those three albums from the 80s, if you want to have like a better understanding of metal music, I think from Rain and Blood to Seasons in the Abyss are like indicative of that and will help kind of shape that for you. I truly do not think that anything released after that is, unless you're a fan, unless you like it, like I don't really see any reason to go seek any of that stuff out. None of it is different enough from anything else to go out of your way.
I'm pretty much like the opposite. I say listen to the last few, have a laugh, and call it a day. Or just listen to Undisputed Attitude and enjoy the punk covers and call it a day.
Just go listen to Minor Threat.
Just go listen to fucking Iron Maiden or L7.
Yeah. Oh, that
Like,
was another one.
all
There
this
was
shit-
a lot of L7 where I was like, I like L7 more than this.
The whole time I was listening to this, I was thinking I would rather be listening to L7 or Iron
Yeah.
Maiden or Judas Priest. There is metal that I like. You know what I mean?
Yes. But now I kind of know, like, when we talk about metal, it's like, I do like some. I
We
don't
have more
think
of a
I
framework.
like. Yeah, I don't think I like thrash.
Well,
metal.
and
I
see,
just-
that's the thing is it's like we have this lens of what musical palette we're accustomed to. But at the same time, like that's not the only reason we don't like this because we loved Iron Maiden. I
Right.
mean, they're so fucking good just because there's so much there. And same with L7. There's so much meat to, dig into. Whatever. I said that weird.
Yeah, there's
I
so
don't know
much-
why I'm
I
digging into
remember
meat.
saying that
I'm a
when
fucking
I was-
vegetarian.
I was listening to L7 and I was just thinking,
I
there's
was
so
like,
much meat
all
to
this
dig
meat.
into. Look at all this. Look at all this meat
Roast
to dig
beef,
into.
you know what I mean?
So it's hard to criticize. It's like, oh, you don't get it, or oh, you're just a snowflake, or like I don't not like it because it's offensive. That's not really it. I think they're good musicians. I don't, like all that stuff. It doesn't spark something in me that makes me want to continue to listen to it, or like this is one band that like I don't think I will ever put a full Slayer album on again. And like I can't think of a setting where I'm like I need 10 of these in a row. There may be a song here and there, or I don't know if I'm trying to like curate a vibe. Maybe I could go back to these, but like this is not. This is one where really it's like I don't know. This will probably be it for me. I think I got my fill. More so than any other band that we've done. You want to know the real reason I picked Slayer, and I didn't realize it until yesterday?
Okay, hit me.
And I think this was like a subconscious thing. I was Googling information about Slayer and searching Slayer, and I've said the word and typed the word Slayer 1,000 times. And about half the time that I type it in, you want to know what comes up?
The greatest show ever made, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, yeah.
Because literally that's my favorite thing about Slayer
And you've
is
been trying to get
that
me to watch Slayer for years and years and years. And so I've never done it. But what I have done is force you to listen to other
you know what?
Slayers'
Fuck you for that. Fuck
entire
you.
discography.
And you know what? We both lose because of this.
I think maybe as a what's the word?
Penance. You have
Yes,
to
yeah,
watch
yeah.
Buffy
As a
now.
penance, I'll start watching Buffy
I fucking
just to
agree.
balance the scales.
Please
It
do.
didn't
Should
hit
we
me.
have a Buffy
I was looking up
podcast?
podcasts, and there were 1,000 Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcasts. I was like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it like finally clicked. It was like, oh, whoops, we did the wrong Slayer.
Yeah, big time.
Do you have anything more on Slayer? Because I want to go to the
I mean, my final thought was that I think I like the idea of Slayer, but don't actually like.
experience of it.
Yes, exactly. Like I like the idea, like the fuck you to the world at large, like that. I get that energy.
And
Yeah,
pissing off Tipper Gore.
totally, totally. I can get on board with that vibe or whatever, but I just prefer my fuck yous to have just a little bit more intellect behind it. You know what I mean?
Like there needs to be something more behind that.
I need more meat to dig into. Apparently,
Yeah, that's right. That's the vibe. Okay, so listening to them, I like was reading the lyrics, and it really got to the point where it was just like you're basically reading the same version of the same song
yes, exactly.
over and over and over and over again for like every song in their entire discography.
Literally.
Which made me think, I wonder, writing their songs, it kind of feels like an exercise in like word association, that sort of thing. I was like, man, I bet you could do a Slayer Mad Lib. I bet you could just start
Oh,
with the
for sure,
framework
for sure.
and do a Slayer Mad Lib. So
Because the majority of it's just plain nonsense.
I created
Oh,
a Slayer
shit.
Mad Lib that we are about to play.
Oh my god, I love it.
So are you ready to do that? Because I'm gonna read the fill in the blanks for you, and then
Okay,
I'll
okay.
read the song. Is that cool?
Okay, sure.
Okay, so the Mad Lib, you say the part of speech or whatever, and then you say the word, and I fill in the blank, and then we'll go through and read the title and the lyrics. Are you ready?
I'm scared.
I'm actually really excited about this.
Oh my god.
Okay, I need a violent verb ending in ing.
Oh no. The first thing that came to mind wasn't great. Let's go with stabbing. That's phallic.
And I need an abstract noun. Think of like an idea or a concept. And the more syllables, the better.
Okay. What's the opposite of mercy? Vengeance.
Okay. Liquid.
Well, it's gotta be blood, I guess. Actually, let's go with.
It doesn't have to be.
Let's go with semen. Okay.
Yeah,
because
when I did this, I knew you were gonna. I knew that was gonna be it.
These guys are very like masculine.
I need a 3-syllable adjective.
Horrific.
We're crushing it. I need a word associated with satanic imagery. So just like, an evil sound.
Any word?
Something satanic sounding or something associated with satanic imagery.
Well, the first thing that came to mind was virgin. But are you looking for more like sacrifice?
No, I got it.
Like a virgin sacrifice.
You're not trying to do a good job. Have you ever played Mad
Okay,
Libs?
great.
This is gonna sound
it's been since I was a child,
done.
probably.
So don't think about what the context of it is. Just give me a thing that fits.
Right.
Okay, a plural noun.
Skulls.
I need a 4-syllable word. Any 4-syllable word.
Splendorific. Is that a word?
I need another violent verb ending in ing.
Fuck. The same one keeps coming to mind and it's not good.
No, we're
Let's
not gonna use that
go
one.
with choking.
I need an adjective.
Brown.
Any
to
verb
Brown Town.
ending in ed.
Slaughtered.
This is just straight up going to be a Slayer song. I need the name of a demonic creature.
Is Gollum demonic?
Sure, he is today.
He's greedy, right?
A noun.
Dog.
I need a royal title.
Princess.
Okay. And I need a biblical location.
Where did our Shadrach homies, where were they?
I have no idea.
Weren't they in some kind of volcano or some shit? Didn't you tell me they were like in a fire or in a
They
soup
were
or
in
I
a
don't know?
furnace, but I don't remember where that was. Yeah, do you remember any biblical locations?
Fucking, I don't know, Jerusalem?
Give me a material.
Kevlar.
Wow. Okay, a body part.
Ball
Go ahead.
sack.
Go ahead and say it. Yeah.
Obviously, dick was the first thing that came to
Yeah,
mind.
I know. You really caught yourself there. You really saved it with ball sack instead of. Give me a adjective.
Ugly.
Give me a color.
Yellow.
Give me a weapon, plural.
Is scythes plural?
Yeah, but that's hard for me to say. But you know what? For this, I'll do it.
I feel like they should be into scythes for some
Okay,
reason.
number.
13.
Okay, an elemental force.
Thunder.
Noun.
Cat.
All right, another abstract noun.
Glory.
Hmm. A synonym for torment.
Slayer. I'm sorry. Go.
It's okay. No, we're doing it.
Okay.
Give me a Latin sounding phrase or something in Latin.
Dominus.
Doesn't have to be real.
Cocculus.
Oh boy. A
I'm
plural
so
body
sorry.
part.
Oh God, plural. What did I say before? Balls?
Yeah.
That's plural.
No,
Phalanges.
phalanges. Negative emotion.
Greed. Is that an emotion? It's a negative attribute, really. A
All right,
negative behavior.
You ready to hear your song?
Okay,
And
yeah.
how much it sounds like a Slayer
In the background,
song?
should I be going?
Yeah. Just hit your microphone as fast as you can so we get the kick drum happening in there.
Oh my
Okay, your song is titled Stabbing in Vengeance. Verse 1 Torrents of semen pour from the sky. A horrific whisper begins to cry. Inside the temple of virgins, I chant the rites of ancient skulls. Splendorific, I scream through choking. The brown blood of gods is still slaughtered. Golem
Old.
rides through ash and dog. All hail the princess of Jerusalem. Call her name.
It's myself.
Verse 2 Chains of Kevlar rip through ball sacks. In the ugly pit, we bleed afresh. The sky turns yellow, the moon is cracked. Scythes raised, there's no turning back. Bridge. A 13-eyed beast on wings of thunder summons storms with unholy cats. You beg for glory, but find only Slayer. Final chorus. Dominus Cocculus echoes in the night, phalanges torn in endless fight. No gods, no hope, just greed remains. Stabbing in vengeance, reigns in blood and pain. I mean,
It honestly
that has to
made more
be
sense than a
that
Slayer
has
song.
to be how they wrote their songs. And I see you do that with every band member, and then boom, there's 4 songs.
Oh my God. Send me a copy of that, please, because that
I'll
was
send you the
fucking
unedited
hilarious.
version of it. So, how about this? Okay, so we'll put the unedited version of it in the show notes, and you can feel free to make a copy of it and play along at home. Send us your best
That was hilarious.
Slayer Mad Libs.
Oh my God. I want you to read it again. Like, that was so funny.
Yeah,
I straight up am about to piss my pants.
yeah, that was my like that made doing this whole thing worth it for me. Was just having that idea and seeing it come to
Honestly, that was
fruition.
genius, quite frankly.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the fact that Slayer doesn't have any variety in their songwriting
And
structure
their fucking lyrics are nonsense.
or lyrical content, it's like it makes it really easy to do with them because all their songs are very similar. Okay, so recommendations for Slayer is listen to
I
other
haven't
metal.
recovered.
I
Yeah,
thought
no,
you'd get a kick
definitely.
out of that.
That's definitely the recommendation is
Yeah, I think that's fair. Their big 3, the Rain and Blood through Seasons in the Abyss. Like, if you really wanted to get to know them, I think you could do those 3 and then you're good. You got it.
or if you are like anti-theist energy, just listen to the last few. Or if you want to listen to their best album, just listen to Undisputed Attitude and that's it. Or just go listen to all the bands that they covered on the album.
Okay. So yeah, I think I'm good. I feel like I'm not really going to think about them much more after this.
Just think about Buffy instead.
Yeah, I'll transition any leftover ideas about Slayer into Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So yeah, I do feel like I owe it to you to watch at least the first season of Buffy just to balance this out.
The whole show is so fucking good, but seasons 2 and 3 are just like the best TV that exists, basically. So, like, how the fuck are you gonna Wheel of Death Slayer? Because that is practically a Wheel of Death.
Well, okay. I have thought about it, and like you mentioned some bands like Cannibal Corpse and Napalm Death and stuff like that, and like I do think that would be
Similarly deathy.
yeah, like I do think that would be an unpleasant listening experience just because I don't like that kind of music, but I don't think there's enough.
Difference.
Part of the Wheel of Death is I do want it to kind of have some reason or to have some sort of
Like contrast to the
yeah or like I want to learn. I still want to get something out of it.
right. And listening to more of this would just be more of the same.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, you know what? They talked about dismembering people a lot, or like,
Again, yeah.
it's like I'm good. So I think I'm gonna go opposite end of the spectrum. I think I'm gonna go easy listening, or like very mellow and calm, and really the antithesis of Slayer. Still in a way that I think it wouldn't necessarily be fun to listen to most of their
I'm
music,
getting Kenny G energy again.
but yeah, it's kind of a similar vein of that. Not Kenny G per se, but I think I'm gonna go with let's do Anne Murray. We've talked about her in the past. Let's do Anne Murray. Adult contemporary, easy listening. The
Damn
basically
it.
the embodiment of the PMRC, the people that wanted to censor Slayer. So
Yeah, totally.
let's pretend like we
We
live
have
in a
all the
world
same haircut.
where they got their way, and Anne Murray's the only music that we're allowed to listen to. Like that, it presents a world in which Slayer doesn't exist, and the only music that exists is the bland
Oh my
milk
god.
toast, easy
You're
listening
fucking
music
hilarious.
of Anne Murray.
That is hysterical.
So I have no idea how many
Per-
albums she has,
Perfect
or
choice. Me either. And I hate it so bad already, but that makes total sense. You nailed
so
it.
yeah, that's Wheel of Death without being repetitive or like because I really
Yeah.
did think about doing one of those other ones that I know is even like the most extreme version of that, but I
Yeah.
truly do not want to listen to
Same. I would
an even
rather listen
heavier
to Anne
version.
Murray, and that's saying something.
Okay, I am not going to tell you how many albums I'm looking at right now. Who are we
Oh,
doing
god
next?
damn it. Like 30 something. Ah.
But only one haircut the whole time.
The 90s mom blonde mushroom top.
That's right.
So, this is a very important band that you may be vaguely familiar with based on our past of me probably forcing you to listen to some of this, because there was a while there that I was into one of their albums and listened to it a lot, and it's super funny. But anyway, we're going to go Chibo Motto.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I like that a
And
lot.
this actually aligns with you how you are going to watch Buffy now, God damn it, because one of the coolest things about the show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, is that there's musical guests in most of the episodes. This was late 90s, early 2000s. So it's like a lot of like 90s alternative, like grunge and like, Mazzy Star type of shit, like shoegaze energy. And Chiba Mato is a guest on one of the episodes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they play.
Are we slowly morphing this into your dream Buffy recap podcast? Like in real
I'm on
time?
board.
Yeah, I
Let's
know
fucking do
100%
it.
that you are. I
Uh,
guess I brought it up. I guess I brought Buffy into this by bringing Slayer into this.
exactly. It's all you. I almost wore a Buffy shirt today because it says Slayer on it. So
Yeah.
that's the closest thing I have to the theme.
How many albums do they have? Do you know?
uh, I think they have 6 studio albums.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
It's a dream. Way to
They're
go.
really
Nailed it.
they're really fucking good, and I think you're gonna like it. And it's low key kind of the polar opposite of Slayer too. Like I wanted to bring us back down to fucking a more calm energy.
And some of these shots in the dark are like, man, did I really think it was all going to be that loud and that intense for that much of it? No, I really expected there to be a little bit more
Variance, yeah, totally.
variety. This felt oppressive multiple times where it was like
Yes.
either when I started an album or when I finished it, I would just like sigh in relief, or
Yeah,
like sigh
it
in like,
did
ugh,
that to
here
me
we
as
go
well.
again.
It kind of gave me some They Might Be Giants vibes. Like it was just so relentlessly aggressive.
Yes, very, very, very much so. So, but hey, now we know. Live and
And
learn.
now we're going to bring it back down to a calmer energy in your new household. This will be your new unpacking soundtrack.
Good. I like that.
Thank you for listening to Retrospectrum. Follow us on social media at Retrospectrum Pod. Subscribe to our Patreon at Retrospectrum Pod. And if you like what we do, leave a 5-star review. Tell your friends. Tell your mom. Tell your dog. Bye.
Retrospection.